Where the fuck is McClay?
We've been fucking looking for McClay all day. And we're still gonna keep looking for him. So if you want to follow, let's go. I smell the clay.
You could just set it to the side after.
Sure. Sweet.
You have to say the
Action.
Awesome. This is the Bogcast. We are brought to you by Bang Salon. Come get all your hair needs, including cuts, natural colors, vivid colors, extensions, shampoo and stylings, all under one roof at Bang Salon. Find and message Bang Salon on Instagram at Bang Salon at BANGDSALON. Use promo code
Bogcast.
for 20% off your first visit. So come on down and get banged by Jordan. But if you really try to bang her, I'll fucking kill you. Cool.
Check us out on Spotify, Google Play, all the iTunes and podcatchers out there. Like and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. And do us a favor, comment. Tell us what you think. Check out the old videos, comment. Tell us what you think.
Cool. This is the very last episode of 2019, and I'm excited to have our guest, Matthew Robinson, who was also our fourth guest. Thanks for coming on today again, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
If you don't know who Matthew is, he's a film critic. You can find him on darkofthematinee.com.
Correct. You did.
And he also is the, can I say creator of the Arizona
Sure.
Filmmaker
Yeah,
Showcase?
you can.
Yeah, and you can find that at the Filmbar the last Sunday of every month. Are you guys still doing it that way?
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
Awesome.
6 p.m.
So, but what's up, man? How you been, man?
Excellent.
I thought we'd have finished the year. One of my favorite things to do is watching movies and stuff. And I know you have a love for film, and so much so where you created a showcase to, help local filmmakers out. But you watch pretty much most of the movies throughout the year. When I read your reviews, I feel like I agree with a lot of the things that you say for the most part.
Thanks.
So if I see a movie that you enjoy, I'm like, oh, this movie's probably going to be pretty good. Oh, if it says this movie sucks, this movie's going to suck. So I thought we'd talk about some of the movies from 2019. And
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I got to explain what happened. I get a text from Keith going, check out all these movies. And there's like 5 movies on there. So I got a little prepared, so I'm looking forward to it.
But you've seen stuff this year, no doubt.
I've seen a lot of stuff this year,
Sure.
but some of the movies were a little too much for me. Yeah, I gotta be honest. Like I've gotten to this phase where I used to love watching. Just it doesn't matter what it is. If it's good, it's good. But I used to love watching even like the darkest of shit. You know what I mean? Now that I get older, that really dark shit, and I'm not talking about like horror movie dark shit. I'm talking like just really sad shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to watch those anymore. I just get
so your tastes have changed.
Yeah, they've really changed. But so that's what I'll say about that.
Cool.
Yeah, I fully understand. I have to see a lot of movies that I'm not necessarily
Well,
prepared for emotionally or in my interest level for
That's
it.
a perfect question. How do you do that? Because without just stopping.
And how many movies are you watching a week? Like, do you have a certain amount you have to watch?
Generally, it's about 2 a week
Oh, that's not bad.
in terms of like theatrical screenings that we go to. When it comes to the end of the year, because I'm VP of the Phoenix Critic Circle, which is the group that I'm in, and we do voting for the end of the year that gets sent then to all the studios and things like that. So we got all these screeners sent to us at the end of the year, like in November, like usually like 50 DVDs of just sort of all the major releases. And that's like catch-up time, right? Because you see a lot in the year that won't make those, and then you have to catch up and do your homework. And that's where you end up watching like 3 or 4 movies, in a row, like back to back, that are all super heavy and very depressing themes and tough, and some of them are great and some of them just wear you out. And so definitely have to check yourself, I think, as you would want to with anything, right? To make sure you're like, I'm gonna give this movie a fair shot. I'm not too tired, I'm not too like worn out to feel anything.
You just want to get the hell out of there, so you're like, oh, it's a bad one, I'm done.
Right. Right.
It's funny. It's funny. It's funny you bring that up because we were talking about on Absolute Geek the other night about they have these comic graders where you send your stuff, and our answer to whether you get a good grade or not is what the grader got laid the night before. You're not going to get a good review unless you get laid the night before. So it's not in your hands, or it's not in the movie's hands. It's in the critic's hands.
True.
Yeah.
So it's all about what mindset Matt's in when he gives his review.
Right. Try to keep it neutral as much as possible, but still.
Well, I think I asked you this last time, but when you watch the movie, do you have a notepad and you're taking notes?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just an old habit of like, I have ideas and don't always will remember something from like the first 40 minutes or something of a movie.
I find myself doing that a lot.
Right, and so I need to.
Notepad?
No, I'll forget.
Oh, forget, right? Like you forget.
No,
like,
totally.
Especially if a movie is really like plot heavy and there's a lot going on.
There's one movie that we'll talk about that happened to me on.
So like I always have to. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I always try to take notes and thoughts, jot them down as they come, just so that I can refer back and go like, oh yeah, that's right. That movie opened up with that quote that I completely forgot that now makes sense. I'm glad I wrote it down.
But these aren't thoughts of your personal thoughts of the film. These are just like plot points and facts of the movie.
It depends. Sometimes it's plot points, but a lot of it is like commentary. It's like, oh, like, okay, yeah, like, okay, the middle, we're like, 40 minutes in and this is dragging and it's feeling really long. And so like, I remember that I had that feeling because movies tend to pick up in their third act, right? Like the last 30 minutes sometimes is where like all the stuff really happens. And so, you only like remember that at like 30 minutes in, I was feeling like the drag of this film, wondering where it was going, where it was headed, and remember that thought because like I'll remember at the end of it, I'll go, oh, if the ending is fantastic, blows my mind, then I'll forget all that because I'm like, oh, the movie's great.
Yeah.
I'll forget like, no, actually.
Because as a reviewer,
that's very true.
He's kind of
that is true.
He's getting the viewer ready to go see this movie in a say. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of people will read the reviews on what movies they want to go see, and based on what the reviewer says, that's what they're going to go see. So he's got to be able to say, hey, yeah, this movie might drag a little, but it'll get good. Trust me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also like to think that people would read the reviews like afterwards, and this is the whole thing right now is like, what are their role right now? Movie critics' role. I mean, a lot of people on social media post like their sort of thoughts on movies all the time, right? And certainly when something like Star Wars comes out, right?
Oh yeah,
it's like everyone's giving their review. Does anyone actually read like what a critic thinks of a movie like that? Because it has such a strong fan base that people are like, they bought their tickets before anyone saw it, so like they're going to see it regardless, and a lot of people don't. I don't know, because I've seen some posts, and we certainly any critic.
We should talk. Let's talk about Star Wars.
I don't. You know why I don't want to talk about Star Wars? Because not only do we already talk about it, and I fucking hate Star Wars now, but there's so many more other important films that I would rather bring attention that everyone's talking about Star Wars.
What did you think? Just real quick.
It's true. I mean, I think it's a movie that it sets out to try to appease maybe too many different people, right? And it fails to, I think, have like a distinct voice as a result.
Yeah.
So that's like the big thing. There are moments. There are good moments. There are good like set pieces. I think like the fighting on the fallen Death Star is like, that's a great idea.
We said the same.
It's really good.
Yep, you said the same.
Really good, right?
We said.
But you can just feel that movie. It's like a bot that like figured out what's the way to offend the least amount of people with this thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of Facebook reviews, a Facebook review gave me the best review that I saw, which was, it feels like when you play the video game of Rise of the Skywalker, but it's all the montages scenes of the movie put together. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Like that's what it feels like. That's what it felt like to me. But anyway.
And I'm still waiting for anything from Carrie Fisher in it, Princess Leia. Or General Leia, I guess, in this one, because she looks so like odd. She has these like blank stares because they were using old footage, and so like
terrible.
That's a meme. It's gonna happen soon where you're gonna respond to people like when they say something confusing with just Princess Leia staring off into. She was like, "Who are you looking at?" And it's
it probably already is.
Yeah, probably already is. You're right.
Yeah. Well, you said exactly what we said. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
It is what
But I
it
do
is.
hear this like thing from and a lot of critics experience it of like people saying like, well, I don't read critics. I don't, critics are, don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Bunch of hacks or whatever like this. There's a lot of criticism towards film critics right now.
For sure.
I think that some of that's because like Rotten Tomatoes is such a popular
Oh,
site,
yeah.
and the score
The
seems to have
audience is
so
always
much
higher.
has
Yeah.
so much weight now, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't remember growing up, and it's like sure you had Siskel and Ebert like thumbs up, thumbs down, but like you didn't have like a Rotten Tomatoes score that can define a film's success.
Well, I think
That's
it's really sad too because you can tell that a majority of those scores don't hold any weight. I mean,
Right.
when you have like a 90% critics thing and a 10% fan thing, that there's something wrong.
Something
there.
wrong, right?
That big of a gap, that there's some bot sitting out there pressing a button. You know what I mean? It's weird when you go look at some of the Rotten Tomatoes
Or
scores.
there's just a big divide between audience tastes and like
Do you
like
think it's that
film
massive though on some of those?
I do on some like and you have to think that audience score mostly comes from the test audiences
Yeah.
that see it. So that's people who went on opening night and
He
were
says
asked
the
for a
same
cinema
thing.
sure right
Yeah.
afterwards, right? That's where that number
You
comes
need
Yeah, I
a
didn't know
couple
that.
days to. He always says, "I need a
Right.
couple days to kind of think what I really like about the movie."
Right.
I can't tell you right
Especially
after.
with Star Wars, because when I see a Star Wars movie, I'm just excited because it's Star Wars, and even like Episode 3, I was so fucking happy when after that movie that night. But then a year later, it's my favorite of the prequels. But I reflected on it and realized
let's see what happens when the new Christopher Nolan movie comes out. If you're going to be able to look at it like with a good critical
I already know
eye.
the movie's gonna be bad as
Yeah,
fuck.
Well, I mean,
Tenet?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that movie's
he's
gonna be fucking,
pretty
he doesn't fuck
consistent
around.
director that you can almost
Well,
pretty
did
much
you guys-
rely on.
Did you guys like the last one,
Dunkirk?
Did
Absolutely.
you like it?
I did. It's not one of my favorite Nolan films, but I appreciate everything he does. I think he's the baddest motherfucker out. There's only honestly 3 directors I go out to the theater to even see: Quentin Tarantino,
Sure.
Christopher Nolan, and I don't even remember who the other one is. I guess just them 2 right now. Well, I go to see Star Wars just because it's a ritual with my 2 best friends. We always go on a night to see Star Wars and shit.
Yeah.
But Christopher Nolan gets me into the theater. Like that's a IMAX experience they have with the sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is done now, right? Because like we saw 2 big series end
Yeah.
this year. It's a big thing, right? We have Avengers Endgame, and we have the Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, right? Which is the end of that
Which is stupid.
that set, right? That's it. That's done. The main Star Wars films are done.
Do
You don't think
that-
they'll be at 10, 11, and 12?
No,
I
I
think they
don't.
will.
I
I
think
think
they
they
will.
will.
I think that they're going to try to spin off other successful.
I think they'll do a 10 and
storylines.
11 and 12,
like
but
what
they'll
Marvel's
do
doing.
a different.
Mhm.
They won't do Skywalker. They'll just be like a different
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
But they'll just call it 10.
It'll be
11,
like
12.
what Marvel's doing, where they're just having standalone movies.
Don't they have another phase coming though, and all that?
Marvel does
Yeah.
absolutely, but I think that approach is what the Star Wars crew
Yep.
will move forward from is forget the main storyline, the full this long 9 film storyline.
I see what you're saying. Just the
It's
universe.
just like we're gonna get more
Good.
things like Rogue One and
Yep.
Solo, and then if one of those hits big, we will start to see probably sequels.
Well,
built
what do you
off
think
that.
about the Batman? They have all the casting coming out for the new Batman. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm interested in it. I like Robert Pattinson was in 2 great movies this year.
One of my favorite movie this year.
Or Lighthouse.
Nope.
Oh no,
King.
The King. Okay,
Yeah, that just came out.
yes, it did.
And that movie is my favorite movie of the year. I
All
love
right.
that movie.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he's in 3 great movies because
Yeah.
he's also in High Life, which is
Yeah.
a great sci-fi
Yeah.
film from this year. So
I
yeah,
didn't
I'm
see
very
the
very
same of those.
excited for him in that role just because he brings a completely different energy than anyone that's been in
Yeah.
it before, and the younger
I like the
look of him.
Catwoman they cast. I
Yeah.
think that was perfect with Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah,
daughter.
Zoe Kravitz. Yeah. I
She's
think that's
perfect.
I think it's gonna be really good.
They got a lot of good casting.
But-
on that.
I'll say this: like at some point, I don't know. I mean, there's gonna be this too much of the superhero films,
Yeah.
don't you think? At some
That's why
point?
Batman needs to go dark and really dark
Right.
and really brooding.
I don't give
and-
a shit about superhero movies. I mean, I'm excited for Batman, and like you said about Robert Pattinson, I think he's been working his
Right.
act off the last 10 years. I hate
Sure.
when people say, "Oh, the Twilight guy." Like, you're not a fan of film if you just still think of Robert Pattinson as a
Correct,
Twilight
right?
guy.
Because
You know what I
he's
tell him
proven
to go
himself
He's a bad motherfucker.
over and over
Yes,
again
for sure.
That movie
from
he
the-
I
did
hate when
with
people say that.
that movie he did with Guy Pearce. what was the name of that movie?
I know
can't
what you're
remember.
talking
Yeah,
about.
the movie he did with Guy Pearce. Whenever people cry about him, I tell them go watch that movie, and
Yeah.
that'll show you the type of actor that dude is. That
Yeah.
dude's a fucking good actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right
Absolutely.
on. So what is your favorite film of 2019?
My favorite film is Parasite by Bong Joon-ho.
I just saw that the other night.
I think I saw this out in LA with the director in attendance. And
Wow.
it's super. I mean, I'm a big fan of his films and have been for a long time. Snowpiercer
Yep.
and Memories of Murder. And he just has a lot of really, The Host, very consistent, very hard to define films. His genres tend to blur very easily from one thing to another one.
Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And so he makes films from that I enjoy, like, because they're really unpredictable. I don't know what's necessarily going to happen next. And Parasite's definitely, that's very, very true. A movie that seems to like shapeshift like 4 times over the run of it.
Snowpiercer felt that way too.
Absolutely, it does, right? It moves and shifts into territory you would just not expect it to go into. Nothing about his films feel like, oh, it's like this other film or anything like that. He generally makes, and this one, I described it as the perfect Bong hit. It is like, it is like not only one of his biggest films, but I think it is like his his true perfect masterpiece film. So that's about two families essentially. One's a very, very poor family, right? The son of that family gets a job tutoring for a very rich family, and systematically starts to get his family jobs with that family, right? And then something happens that like throws everything off. But the movie, right, starts out kind of as this sort of comedy family thing, and then it shifts to this like mystery thriller, and then it gets like super horrific for a while.
Yeah.
And then it swings back around to something pretty like, I don't know. I thought it was the strong emotional ending to that film, and that's super impressive when a film seems to just deftly like move from one thing to another, and you go, I don't know.
How did he come up with this? It's like,
Right. When I was teaching for ASU film, we would teach genre, and I would use The Host, another one of his films, and say, like, this film could be a sci-fi film, a family drama, a horror film. You pick a genre and defend why it should be in that genre. So, like, if you're going to do that with Parasite, what's the genre it goes into?
I don't think you can. Well, I think I don't know what you'd put that into.
Right.
dark comedy.
Horror.
Yeah, maybe. Right, maybe.
Yeah. There's movies that are.
I was laughing my ass off on certain parts. And then
absolutely.
At the end, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But then there's those bizarre elements with the basement and
Right.
the metaphors with the rock.
Yeah. It's got
All,
layers to it.
That's why I love foreign films more so, because they're just always more creative. They're always more like, how did they come up with this?
Right.
City of the Lost Children.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I think of when I think of films like Parasite and stuff like that, where you can't put them in a genre.
Right.
City of the Lost Children.
Yeah. So that's number 1. Number 2 was Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think a very strong film. Although I know a lot of Tarantino fans who do not like this film at all.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's
I went to the movies with one. Brett, Brett. Not to call him out on the show.
But to call him out on the show.
But Brett did not enjoy this movie, and it was very surprising. Like,
well, when you guys talked about it, what was your differences and the opinions of it?
I think wasn't into necessarily the history of it, the sort of Hollywood history of it. So this is the thing:
is how old is Brett?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
A few years younger than
I think
that's probably it.
You have to be. I think you have to be a certain age and older to grow up and understand the significance of the Manson murders.
The mythos around
There's
it.
kids that are 25 and
Right.
under who don't even know that fucking story in
It's
Manson
true.
is. So when they see the ending, it doesn't have that payoff like
Yeah.
it did for like me. Like I read
Right.
Helter Skelter in high school.
Yep.
Like I loved Manson. I don't want to say I loved him, but I loved the story. The
TV movie was on sometimes.
all that
like,
shit.
I remember all that growing up.
So I was when I
Sawyer interview.
when I got
After
I saw it, I was wondering, like, there's got to be kids who watch this who's like, this isn't that that interesting. So that's why I was wondering like how old Brett was. Like if
And that sounds like
maybe
the
if that's
perfect
the
thing. They
maybe
don't
that's the
understand
divide
history.
is like because that Hollywood history and particularly the Manson murders, that's a huge part of it.
it kind of sucks
To know what
that,
it's playing around with, right? Because it's like rewriting that.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of sucks that you have to rely on that knowledge for the film to be good, but when you do know that knowledge, it makes it so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially that ending.
Yes.
You know
I
what
just
mean?
love how Tarantino does his films, where so many things throughout the movie all make sense in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was very prevalent in that movie too. So
Plus, I think he's been like wanting to make a true hangout film
yeah,
for a long
Yeah.
time, and this feels like that hangout film that he's like
Yeah.
aiming
Well, the
towards.
two main actors were absolutely unbelievable in it. It
Absolutely,
makes
right?
you realize how good they are. Like
Mhm.
there was a couple of movies this year that did that, but that movie for sure made me realize how good those two actors are and
Right.
at their craft.
Yeah.
Fucking unbelievable.
Leo is acting while he's acting, like acting within acting. Like,
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
next level of
That
shit.
shit
right?
is weird, man. That's
know,
one of the
I
things I
know.
always think about. Like,
Yeah.
how do they do those scenes when they're acting like an actor? You are an actor. How do you
Yeah.
not act like an actor? You know what I mean?
Right, and get like mixed up somehow
Yeah.
about what am I nervous about? No, my character's nervous. I'm not.
But
Exactly.
I
No,
thought Brad
that's why
Pitt was
they,
the best out of them, though, in that movie.
Yeah.
It just like oozes cool.
Yeah. Big
Right?
time. Big time. Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed that. I really appreciate how he still shoots on film. He's one of the last directors to do
Yeah.
that, and I think he's one of the last few directors who is going to still do that and compete with the Marvel movies and the big blockbusters. I think it's hard to see these kind of films in the theater anymore. You
Yeah.
know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's all going to be like Disney and
I
Marvel
agree.
shit
I
at the
agree.
theater from now on.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
it kind of sucks for other film. Like I saw a Guy Ritchie when he was on Rogan talking about how he spent 3 years of his life pouring his heart and soul into King Arthur.
That
And
movie
then-
was badass, though.
But the thing is, he couldn't find a date to release it because there was
Yes.
all Marvel and stuff, and
Yes.
it ended up coming out the weekend after Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or something, and completely flopped.
And people wouldn't give it a chance
no one
after
gave
that.
it a chance.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So, and I was just thinking, man, that sucks. Like even
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie's fighting to fucking find a time slot for his fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe it's for the best because he's going back with his next film coming out next year, right? Going back to his roots. He's doing.
Well, then he did Aladdin.
He's doing a crime movie, yes, right? So like maybe it's like worked out that he's had a few like rough bumps.
Yeah,
'cause
that is actually funny.
I kind of am glad like to see. I miss old
Guy Ritchie. Yeah.
Guy Ritchie who
Lock,
did
Stock,
like
Guy Ritchie,
Lock,
yeah.
Stock, right? That's the Guy Ritchie I've been wondering because like something like Aladdin or even I mean there's some things in the Arthur movie, right? But
That are-
but a lot of it doesn't have any of his signature
No.
style.
No.
Well, the only thing that is his signature style, I think, how it's shot is
Yes.
just signature
His
style.
love of like slow mo
Yes.
and ramping.
I like
and,
how he did
yeah.
Sherlock Holmes. I thought that
Right.
one was
Sherlock was good, and I loved Arthur. I fucking loved it, man.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of the best movies I seen that year. But it's also because I am a big Guy Ritchie fan and I'm a big history fan,
Right.
so I like the whole him delving into the history aspect. And I've been waiting for that movie. It's one of those movies I was waiting for. So
Well, I totally didn't think about how he did that movie, bitched about how he couldn't compete,
and
and then
got
did
a
Aladdin,
bigger movie, yeah.
and then became that
Right.
same,
Right.
became
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah,
Marvel.
yeah.
But so you're saying he's going back to his old roots now?
He's going back.
I didn't
to
know that.
There's a
his
new
old-
trailer out,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
For what a movie he's got coming out.
Yeah, which is like a London-based
Mhm.
crime film that looks
Old
lots
school
of
Guy
lots of
Ritchie.
characters, lots of zippy dialogue and
He has the craziest
Right.
camera cuts and shots,
Yeah,
the way
agree.
he does shit, and I'm
It's
just like,
the-
how the fuck does he? There's some massive planning going into his shit.
That's why I
Like,
loved Arthur, man. He did some really cool shit in that movie. Really cool shit.
I didn't actually see that.
Yeah.
Check that out.
yeah.
Anyway,
That was my second favorite movie out of the year. Was
What?
the Tarantino film?
The Tarantino.
Oh, Tarantino.
Under the
Uh,
King.
yeah.
Okay.
Under King was good, man.
All right.
I know.
Did
it
you
just
watch
came
The King?
out.
I haven't watched it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
on Netflix.
No,
It
yeah.
just
I haven't watched
came
it.
out.
Yeah.
But it's also because I'm a huge history buff,
Right.
like major history buff, and that time period is my favorite time period to learn about.
Yeah.
Right, the like 1400s.
I know, but when I like, I'll read people's reviews of movies like on IMDb, and everyone was just trashing the history of that. How
but here's the problem. You're not going to see a documentary. You're going to have a good time. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I've gotten to the point where you have to kind of, for the most part, release yourself from some of the.
I get that.
But
I agree with that.
so there's always going to be somebody that's going to pick at something and bitch about something. You know what I mean? So
Right.
a scholar is going to sit there and bitch about it.
I'm not as much.
But I would say this just as I think why people react to that is because we were just talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? And Tarantino rewrites history there, but he does it very flagrantly, right? It's like out in the open. I'm doing this. I think what some people take note with something like The King, right, is because it passes itself off as historically accurate.
Yeah.
And then it's
it probably even says based on a true story before.
And then it's not, right? And then that's I think when people cry foul on that, right?
Yeah. There was a part in it that was kind of weird.
I'm just wondering because you know so much about history as you're watching this, or you're like, what the fuck? This isn't.
There was a major part. That
I don't know as much
weird.
as you, so a lot of it can flies by me. You know what I mean?
At that point, you're really by the time they do that shit, you're totally into this movie with just the acting and everything that's going on. Pattinson's part is it's small in the whole scheme of things, but he's fucking amazing in it, man. He's really fucking good. But that main character, that young kid, I forget his name, the guy who plays the king, he's fucking great in it too, man.
Oh, that young kid, Timothy
Chalamet.
Yeah, that's it.
He's a great young actor.
Yeah.
That dude is really fucking good in it. It's a good
big year for Netflix.
Yes,
in general,
year.
right? It's massive. It's incredible that they've kind of got probably two of the biggest front runners for the Oscars with Marriage Story and The Irishman. Plus, they have The King. They have Dolomite Is My Name, which is going to get probably
4
an actor.
great movies,
Nomination. They're just all over the place. It's insane.
You brought up Marriage Story. What did you guys watch that?
I watched it.
What did you guys think of that?
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch.
It's a hard movie to watch.
That's the movie I'm talking about.
It is
hard
a very hard movie to watch, which I think speaks to how powerful it is.
It's a necessity.
Necessity
for a man to watch that movie.
Yeah, it's good.
You know what I mean? Because it shows it reveals the system and how it exposes a lot of things.
I mean, it definitely shows the horrors of divorce.
That's what I'm saying.
Very few films have ever shown.
Yes.
But I think it's very fair to both characters, even though I do think it's obviously coming more from Adam Driver's characters. But those two performances, I think, are
Adam Driver, man.
Well, he wrote that based off of his divorce with
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
The director did. Yeah,
Adam Driver in that movie was fucking phenomenal, man.
Right.
He's another great film where you see how good the actor.
Well,
is.
even Scarlett Johansson, some of those monologues they have, man.
Yeah,
they had to have been 5 or 6 pages, and they're going from room to room.
Yeah.
Like they made it. I don't know.
Coming from an actor's perspective, how that movie allows them to it feels very raw.
For sure,
times,
I didn't see a lot of cuts, and I'm saying wow, they had to memorize all that.
Yeah,
shit,
no one's
you know
hitting.
I mean?
Yeah,
that fight that they do, they did 50 takes of that, of that whole fight. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
Right. That's
talk about getting into a place you don't want to be.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely. But then you feel it because watching it is a tough watch. That was one of those movies that stressed me out.
Yeah.
While watching it, just because yeah.
But it was great. It was. I mean, it was great acting.
I didn't think you'd like that.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to watch it, but I liked the acting. You know what I mean? That was one of those movies where I fell into just looking at it from a professional point of view. Okay, I'm just gonna watch Adam Driver's acting now. I'm one of those. I feel like Scarlett Johansson. It was actually good to see her in something that isn't. Where she doesn't just look totally burnt. You know what I mean? She just looks bad sometimes. And in this one, I don't have to see her as some beautiful Russian supermodel thing. But, you know what I mean? She's just a normal person.
Yeah, she's a good actress.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at. At least you can see her going from just being terrible in some of these big Hollywood movies and see her do a good job in this.
How awkward is that scene when he grabs the divorce papers? And man, that scene was so weird.
That scene, the trick or treating scene was
that's exactly it.
Jeez.
I don't know how many times I'm just I wanted to fast forward.
Yeah. Which I know how you feel. I just think that's a testament to how powerful the movie is. But yeah, it's not a pleasant watch. I did say it was the feel bad movie of the year because it does make you feel.
I feel like they had
stressed out and terrible for a long
Yeah, it's
time.
one of those movies you walk away from fuck, why did I want to watch that? You know what I mean?
Why did Keith send this to me?
Yeah, well, thank God that movie couldn't be in the theater because people would walk out, man. Good thing it's on Netflix. Shit.
That is a perfect Netflix movie.
Yeah.
It was tough. But the other Netflix movie, The Irishman.
That's
That's another movie. That movie was too fucking long. That movie was so long. That
That's
I watched
I
it in
could-
segments.
when we were
I watched it
talking
in the
about
theater, so I had to watch the whole like 3.5
when we were
hours.
talking about having to write how you felt, but
Yeah.
there was parts in that where I forgot about what happened in the movie because it's so damn long. Don't get me wrong, I was fucking RSO out of my mind, but still, that movie was hardcore to watch, like not in a good way, and it was boring as shit. My movie bored
From
the
a
hell out of
history
me.
buff, I'm shocked.
Yeah, but that's another thing. Like how,
But
how way off.
U.S.
Al Pacino was terrible as fucking Jimmy Hoffa. I mean, I'm probably coming off as a totally different opinion. You probably
Who cares?
love this
You can have
movie.
I
different
did enjoy it,
opinion,
but that's good. I
Yeah,
like this.
Like Al Pacino was fucking terrible as Jimmy Hoffa. Absolutely horrible. That was some of the worst casting I've ever seen. The weird CGI. The CGI was so weird on Robert De Niro.
I'll give you that. It has
just
its
totally
moments.
took me out of the story.
Just because he moves still like an old man.
Yeah.
Do you think they should have had younger actors play him, or how do you think they should have
The
done
only
it?
good actor in that movie was Joe Pesci. That was the only, to me, that was the only good thing that it was in that movie because Joe Pesci was a totally different character than you've ever seen, you know, and he felt old in that movie. You know what I mean? He felt ancient in that fucking movie. He pulled that off. That's for damn sure. But everything else, they tried to young down Robert De Niro, and like the way his eyes looked was really weird.
Yeah, the eyes were weird.
It was just,
Eyes are weird. His body movements are weird.
it was
But I
hard
don't
to
know.
watch.
I didn't. I mean, I didn't let it like stop me from getting
Enjoying the
wrapped up in the. Yeah.
There's a lot of bad CGI in a lot of movies that are.
But I just
Right.
felt like it was so
There is.
boring at points. Like I would love to get wrapped up in the story, but the story just unraveled itself like
It
too many
didn't-
times.
It didn't flow as well for me as some of his other movies,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
Goodfellas,
Yeah,
Wolf of Wall
Goodfellas,
Street,
Casino.
like just the beats. Like
They
or-
felt like you were sat down and you got up at the end. And it was like 2 minutes past. You know what I mean? This one,
The thing that I think is super impressive, or at least maybe unique, and you'll give some credit to about The Irishman, though, is unlike a lot of his other films like Wolf of Wall Street or Goodfellas in particular, right? This one actually wrestles with like the regret a character would have after a life spent not caring about like anyone, right? And just carrying out all these different, in this case, murders essentially, right? And all these other different crimes and actions, and living that high life for a while, but like the thing that's unique, I think, about that film is that last hour is really spent on a character actually looking back going,
Yeah.
like, fuck, like you don't see that in Henry Hill,
no.
right?
No.
In Goodfellas, like there's never that
No
moment,
remorse.
right? No, not even when he's ratting on everyone does he
Yeah.
have like a moment of looking back behind at the life spent. So I think that's the unique thing of a film that I think Scorsese could only make now. I mean, yes, I agree that it is long. I don't know what I would necessarily cut from it, but it is long. It is a long sit. It's a long sit. There have been, I mean, but movies are just in general getting longer. I mean,
Yeah, but actually,
Is that because they're
what movie
becoming on
isn't
Netflix?
2 hours long or over 2 hours now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
You're right.
Endgame felt super long
Yeah,
to me this
I
year.
agree.
Like a movie that just was like, okay, how many?
I agree.
But I mean, still a successful film, but like,
Yeah,
But
it definitely
still,
didn't feel like
yeah.
like Infinity War. Infinity War was very fast. Like the storyline wrapped you up, whereas Endgame you felt at moments
Yeah.
like, fuck, how long is this movie?
but why do you think movies are getting like longer?
Series.
No, I
The
thought
good
maybe
series.
because they're allowed to be on Netflix and they
Well, like,
I
I
thought
mean,
when-
Endgame's a good example
I
of a
kn-
movie, or even Once Upon a Time.
I feel like in the theater they always tried to keep it at least under 2.5 hours. Once in a while, a movie would come out that's 3 hours
Yeah.
long, but
Didn't Hateful Eight have an intermission?
it did.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was nice.
They need to give those intermissions, man. Cause
I would love to bring
Yeah.
back the intermissions.
I love that,
Yeah,
man.
let's
That
start a
would be-
campaign for 2020.
Yeah.
Bring back the
I
intermission.
went and saw Star Wars, and I must have pissed 5 times during the movie, man. It was crazy. Like, give me an intermission. I don't have to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if they're gonna end up being over 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
let's have like
how
a
long?
break.
Like 5 minutes? 10
Yeah, like
minutes?
5 minutes.
Yeah. No, 10 minutes.
10 minutes probably.
Yeah. Get up, go take a piss.
But that's like money, because that means
Go to the-
probably collectively over the course of the day, one less screening of that film.
yeah, but
Or
also
more
people-
concessions.
More
in the 10
concessions.
in the-
Yeah.
in the
But
10
there's
minutes.
that thing
Yeah.
is like, yeah, you might also, people might
That used to be the time when people would
buy
go
more
up, go to
concessions.
take a piss, and then go grab some
I
popcorn.
thought he only did
Yeah,
that on the
refill
tour,
popcorn.
though. He did that every time Hateful Eight was in the theater. There was an admission. I thought
It was on.
the
It was on
tour.
the Roadshow
The
edition,
Roadshow, yeah.
which
Oh,
only
okay.
played certain theaters.
'Cause I remember
he was
there
trying
was
to he was trying to recreate that '50s movie experience.
And that
when
was
they,
awesome.
when they used to do that.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
He didn't try. He didn't. I'm
And
surprised
also
he
it was
didn't do
in
it for Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
I was
in Hollywood.
in Hollywood.
Oh, sorry, Jesus. Why did I say that?
Well,
yeah, the
there's
same
a lot-
movie.
there's
There's
a lot
movie
of-
called Once
there's
Upon
a lot
Time
of
in
Once
Mexico.
Upon a There's a lot of Once Upon a Time films.
Films,
out
yeah,
there,
yeah,
out
yeah.
there for
No,
sure.
I get it.
For sure. But yeah. I'm all for the intermissions.
Quentin Tarantino would be all about that too.
Yeah.
So right on. What other movies, man? So I have your list up actually. Here.
Oh, well, out now, right in theaters. Everyone should go see Uncut Gems.
Oh
A
yeah.
phenomenal film. A frantic, chaotic, intense watch.
But I like Adam Sandler movies like that.
But it's
Punch Drunk.
funkin'. Yeah, it's fucking great. It's a knockout. That movie
Oh,
is
yeah.
just insane. And Sandler is he's fantastic in it. And I would say probably the best since Punch Drunk,
Yeah.
easily. And
Good.
He doesn't
just
do
like
any of the.
no, just like
I hate Sandler for that.
right, just like Punch Drunk, right, which kind of took like the angry persona that he had in so many of his comedies, and then sort of flipped that into something more
Yeah.
serious and like in that case like a romantic movie, right? This understands like other qualities of Sandler very well and puts them into play in a like frantic thriller drama
Very
where
cool.
it's like it's very good. And the Safdies, they did Good Times from a couple of years ago with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
They have a way of shooting New York like very few filmmakers still shoot New York. You know, a lot of handheld cameras out in the shops, streets.
I love that.
So you really feel like you're
Yep.
in the city. You really feel the energy of that. And he plays Sandler plays this jewelry shop owner, right, and dealer who owes money all over town essentially, and is trying to kind of outrun some of this
Perfect for Sandler.
stuff. Yeah, it's great because him doing his sort of sleazeball versions
Yeah, that's
of
exactly what I see.
is
Yeah.
like it's done really well, and hopefully he'll get like some attention for it, but you know. Sandler's not one to probably campaign much for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind him when he does the drama.
Yeah.
Dramatic roles.
Yeah,
and
I think
stuff.
you'll like this. It's intense, though. It's a very intense movie.
I'm down with intense.
Yeah?
Right on. So I wanted to ask you about Midsommar. I haven't seen that one.
Oh, yeah.
Is that-
Ari Aster's follow-up to Hereditary.
Yeah.
Which is,
I didn't see that either.
It's a very, it's a horror film of sorts, right? It's a daytime horror film. There aren't many of those.
I like
Yeah,
that
that's
aspect
true.
of it.
Right.
I like the color, I guess, aesthetic
Yeah.
that it has. It seems very like colorful and bright. For
It
a horror
is
film.
for a film that is a very intense watch, very horrific at times to be completely in the daylight because so in it Florence Pugh plays a woman who's in a relationship that is not terribly healthy. She in the opening moments of the film suffers a kind of major tragedy in her life. And sort of on the eve of her boyfriend probably breaking up with her. So he stays with her. It cuts to that he is headed to this trip with his college friends to this festival. This in I think it's in like Sweden or something.
Is this the moon one?
Sweden or something like that.
Like the one where they pull down the moon or whatever?
No, I don't
Okay,
think so.
sorry, I'm ruining your thing. Go ahead.
I don't know what that is
Yeah.
though.
Let's talk about that one.
Yeah. But and so she tags along and then gets kind of wrapped up into this set of like rituals during this festival that
Are they all in like these white
increasingly
robes and shit? Yeah.
increasingly get more and more horrific.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's a horror film that's really at its core probably a breakup movie and a very cathartic breakup movie for anyone who's ever been in a really shitty, unsupportive relationship. Midsummer's a good movie for you.
Okay. Fuck yeah, I need to check that one out.
Yeah, there's been a good year for horror films in general. Like, big shout out to Us, Jordan Peele's
That
film.
movie's
Yes.
badass.
Really good. Lupita Nyong'o was our best actress of the year in the Critic Circle, Phoenix Critic Circle. Deserved, I thought, entirely, because that performance is incredible.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, right. We've already talked briefly about The Lighthouse, but that's another one.
Well, actually, I've heard mixed reviews on The Lighthouse as far as
Sure.
the movie, being aesthetically good, the shots, but the story doesn't have as much. weight
Yeah,
and
I've heard
stuff.
the story's
and
kind
I've
of
heard
weird.
and I've heard that problem with the director. and
Sure.
I was wondering your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the thing is if you don't get on its wavelength that it's a dark comedy and a very funny film in general, and it should help you. There's running fart gag in it.
Yeah.
That should help you kind of get.
So don't
But
take
I
it
think
too serious.
I think because of the way it looks and is shot, it feels very like oppressive
Serious.
and serious. But it's not really that serious of a movie. It's a really dark comedy about sort of like two versions of masculinity that kind of are defunct in different ways. And like when you put two men together who are trying to vie for sort of the alpha male position, like what happens.
Yeah.
So you
Like,
enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it a lot.
I
but
love
again,
William Dafoe and Robert.
but
Pattinson,
again,
too.
like I think it's like you will know probably 30 minutes in, if you haven't like chuckled, you may not be on that film's wavelength.
yeah.
I've heard Robert Pattinson talk a couple things about that movie, about preparing for that, and that one. There's one scene,
There's
Yeah.
there's a few,
but
but there's one.
and it's very weird movie, man.
I thought he doesn't prepare. Like I thought William Dafoe was kind of getting upset with Robert Pattinson because Robert Pattinson like just to come in and shoot however, while William Dafoe is more of like a rehearsed kind of guy. So they kind of. But
Well, I
that's
guess
just
there's
what I
guess there's some crazy masturbation scene that
Yeah.
they talk about. Yeah.
So so that's a good one. A very few people saw this movie that's on Shudder right now, which is called One Cut of the Dead, but is a fantastic zombie film. That genre is pretty tired, I know. Like
Yes.
a lot of people weren't out on it. It's a really fresh take on, and it celebrates the joy of filmmaking in a way that I think anyone who's tried to make a short film or
Where's it out of?
It's I think it's Taiwanese. I think. Or maybe in the Philippines, but really fantastic, funny, great film. That's on Shudder, and Shudder also has Tigers Are Not Afraid, which is a fantastic sort of in the vein of like a Guillermo del Toro film
Yeah.
about young kids who are on the street who are trying to survive sort of the war that's going on around them, but it's done in this really horrific sort of, like kind of fantastical way. Those are really cool. Lots of cool horror films this year. There's even some good big ones, but I think it's awesome that Us did so well. Midsommar found an audience. A lot of good horror films.
Is horror your favorite genre?
It's not my favorite, but I love horror films. I mean, I really enjoy horror films. I think there's a lot going on in them. I think they're allowed to say a lot about society that other films really can't say. And
Well, speaking
and
of that,
I think they're also just fun.
Yeah, I read that the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival is coming up.
It is coming up in April alongside the Phoenix Film Festival, which is always a good time. We always get to show a bunch of fantastic things. I'm the social media director for the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival, so you should like us on Facebook because we give away free screenings all the time. We're giving away a prize pack for The Grudge right now, so it's like 2 tickets to the movie, a poster, a stress ball, some other swag from the films. We're always giving away free stuff related to horror films for that as they come out. It's a great way to see stuff early. So you get invited to the press screening, have a reserved seat for you and all of that stuff. So
That's cool.
you can go look out for those contests there, the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival.
Hell yeah, that's badass.
Yeah, it's great.
And that goes the same time as the Phoenix Film Festival?
Yeah, we get usually one theater dedicated to ourselves, and then on the weekends we usually get like 2 to show a bunch of stuff.
Nice.
Kind of from 7 to midnight is the key time for showing horror films at a film festival.
Yeah. Is it all local stuff or just all?
No. We've been really lucky to have gotten stuff from like A24 and Shudder and a number of IFC Midnight sends us stuff. Like we get a lot of. It's a good chance to see stuff way early on, which is really
Nice.
cool. Yeah. So that's always been fun. Like yeah.
So you can just buy like a ticket for the day and go into the different theaters, or
Yeah, you can buy. The nicest thing is probably a Flex Pass, which is I think it roughly is about like $60 usually, somewhere in that range. And that's 4 screenings of your choosing that you get to go to, and that can jump between the Phoenix Film Festival and the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival. And so they show a lot of really good stuff too, a lot of early big releases. So you're able to kind of jump around, maybe catch like 2 horror films and 2 indies that you're get your eye on.
So is there any films that you can think of where you were looking forward to seeing them this year that were just complete dog shit?
That were like huge disappointments?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, this could start an argument. I don't know how you guys felt about the Joker, but Joker for me was the biggest disappointment of the year, considering that how much I like that actor.
I'm surprised it wasn't on any list.
Considering how much I enjoy the just Batman mythology in general. I mean, that's kind of my comic book jam is Batman.
Same with me, yeah.
So, all of those elements, was so excited. Heard people who saw it early at the Toronto International Film Festival, loved it, like friends of mine. So I was very excited, and then I found that that film, it was a major letdown in every way.
Why?
Okay, well, one, I don't think Todd Phillips is a particularly the right director probably for that material. This is the guy who directed the Hangover films and a number of kind of raunchy comedies that I don't know if him trying to make something about mental health fit very well. I think that the performance is good, Joaquin Phoenix, although he's done crazy in You Never Really Hear and some other movies. I think very well before The Master. That's
one of my favorite movies,
right?
The Master.
Yeah, and he's done this kind of troubled characters before, and I think, but I don't think it borrows so heavily from Scorsese's King of Comedy in terms of plot trajectory and plotline. It did feel like I was watching a movie I'd already seen before in some ways. And then there's just interesting things when you start to think about it. It's like, why is every person that fails him a person of color to some degree? Like there's 3 women who really shoot down any kind of good gesture that he might be making or in roles to try to help him. There's the neighbor, there's his psych evaluator, and there's the woman on the bus who gets upset at him for making faces at her kid, and they all happen to be African American women, which is kind of weird when you actually like link it all together and you're like, oh wait, that is kind of,
I never even thought of that.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. There's a number of like things there that I don't understand.
You don't think that's a coincidence?
No, these are movies that have to be casted.
I know,
and he has to like. I mean, you're the director of a film, like.
But you think he said, I want to make sure it's a black person every time that's shooting.
I'm not necessarily making that claim. I just don't think I don't think it was unknown that was
weird.
I think say they have those 3 castings for those 3 actors, and they bring in some extras, and they just they look good, and they look good, or whatever.
Yeah, it could have been
and they all were black.
Fault.
Sure,
been somebody
but these in at least 2 of those roles, they are major roles.
Yes.
Yeah,
his neighbor is, but I thought that was surprising that they did choose a black person for that role. To be honest,
yeah,
I thought that would have been I was actually glad I was seeing that, because you would think that role would be guaranteed a single white female. You know what I mean?
Sure, I agree, and I agree. If it wasn't ended up being like the nature of their role, their characters that let him down, and the fact that there's like 3 women who all, even if it's just that the 3 women let him down, that sort of message that sends in terms of because those things drive him to what he ends up ultimately doing in that third act. That's, I don't know, that to me was like,
everything felt confusing in that movie,
right? And then really, and then this is maybe one of my bigger gripes with it, is that the Batman lore seems shoehorned in.
It shouldn't. It felt like they took
it's
a movie
like
they
had.
Yeah, it felt like they took a movie that they had sitting in, waiting to be made, and they went, that would be a good Batman movie. All we have to do is just put a couple things to make it look like a Batman movie, and then we don't have to change anything.
I think let's
do it.
Yeah, I think it's even more sinister. It's like, what will make us more money?
Yes.
If this is actually the Joker.
Yeah.
But like nothing about it
feels like the Joker.
It feels like the Joker.
Yes.
The stuff with Bruce Wayne doesn't feel significant or particularly well thought out, or the Wayne family.
Off.
Yeah, and I just don't. I mean, if you're gonna bring that up, yeah, I think I might have actually liked the film more if
I agree.
If that stuff
Yes.
had just been left out. If
The
this just
Batman
had
stuff?
just been, what I forgot what the character's name is, Arthur, right?
Yeah,
If
Arthur.
it had just been called Arthur,
Peck,
yeah,
Arthur
or
Peck,
Peck,
Fleck.
or Fleck, yeah, right, like Fleck or something like that, and not been the Joker at all.
You know what I think happened? And I think I talked about this either on this show or one of the other shows. I felt like Todd Phillips read a couple issues of Detective Comics where they have one of Joker's backstories. You don't know if it's real or not.
Right, the Killing Joke and a few.
Yeah, it's him being a comedian, and his name's Arthur Fleck or whatever, something like that in the comic. And I think he went, you know what? That's kind of like that. Let's figure out a way to get this in there. I could see that happening too, but I probably more likely they saw big money signs.
I think so.
My major gripe with the movie, as far as with the Batman lore, is I didn't think that character was ever smart enough to become the Joker.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of dumb decisions, and to me, the Joker is one of the smartest villains in history. Like he competes against Batman, the smartest detective or whatever in the world.
Right.
And I just feel like, I don't know, maybe someone who argued with me said maybe, when he stopped taking his meds, maybe he got more, brilliant or something like that. But I just felt like that character, I just didn't think that character could ever become the Joker that is the Joker that we know from the comics, as far as the intelligence aspect of it.
Or just the things that I like, and the things I like about that character, right? I mean, the Joker's one of the greatest villains ever.
The greatest, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He's up there with Darth Vader.
Yeah, I would agree. And like none of the qualities of what makes him one of the greatest villains are in that movie.
No.
It didn't feel like.
No. He didn't feel particularly that crazy either in the head. The schizophrenia type Joker type thing that the Joker has, where you don't know if he's truly that smart or if he's just really fucking out of his head. Like that wasn't even there, and he was too much of a. I think you said it. He felt too much of a pussy, like to be the Joker. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate to put it that way, but that's what it felt like. It felt like he couldn't be. Not only could not be the Joker and smarts, but he couldn't be the Joker and how evil and dark the Joker is. Like I just don't see it.
Not everything needs an origin story, and that's proof of it, right? Because like when you think about Ledger as the Joker in Nolan's
the best
Batman
part
films,
about it
is like they don't explain where he comes from, which is part of what makes the character so compelling, interesting, that movie rewatchable, because you're not like everything's not spelled out, and you have to look for clues, and you can have those arguments about like, well, are any of the backstories he gives true in any way possible, and does it matter? No, it doesn't really matter. Like he just shows up as this force of evil, right, in that film, and kind of tears apart Batman's world. That's what the Joker's supposed to do. And so like I don't need the origin story for every character.
That's why
ever.
I enjoyed Star Wars so much in the late 90s, early 2000s, because just wondering about what the Clone Wars was going to be, and what 7, 8, and 9 were going to be. It was just so much more fun than actually figuring it out and then not liking it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I don't need everything spelled out all the time. Yeah. So especially with a big, huge villain.
There's something about that mystery. You have to have that mystery. Once you lose that mythos and that mystery, it's like what do they say? The curtains come up and you see the wizard back there pulling the strings,
right?
And that makes it not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Well, they're just gonna milk the teat now because they're gonna come out with a sequel and.
Right. Yeah. So that's like, that's the other thing is like this clearly worked out in terms of money, right?
And it sucks is it's not even going to tie into I don't think it's going to tie into the Batman.
No, I don't think so at all, which is fine. I think that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm glad. But
I think DC doesn't know what to do currently with anything because nothing's really worked out, and sometimes some things have, but
yeah, like the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman was good.
Wonder Woman, right? And
but as far as their expanded universe, it's a shit show. They
right. In terms of connecting films, I think they're realizing like maybe one-offs are.
Yeah, they fucked up.
Yeah,
they fucked up with Justice League. Bottom line, and Suicide Squad.
Absolutely.
The way they
but I blame that on Will Smith more than anyone.
Do you really? Yeah. Do you think that's why?
Well, because he rewrote. I mean, he argued, and part of him signing on to that film was so that he could change his character, right, to have the backstory where like he's a father, and like there's two introductions to that character. That
he ruined Deadshot. I mean,
right, and I think throughout the production and throughout the whole process, argued that the movie should be his instead of an ensemble, right?
Yeah.
That movie doesn't feel like an ensemble.
It doesn't.
There are characters that are introduced, and just because they probably couldn't afford any lines of dialogue because they had to go to Will Smith, they are killed off within minutes of being introduced, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I feel sorry for the director. What is his name? David Aver?
Whatever.
Because he, I think Will Smith signed on after, and so he has all these ideas, and then Will Smith comes on, changes everything, and then he lost it in the edit also. They literally turned that movie into like a music video.
Well,
that was my
Deadpool
biggest gripe.
came out at the same time and went crazy, right? When they were filming that or when they were getting ready to do the edits, Deadpool came out and made all that money, and Deadpool was this basically a music video, right? And that's when they went, if I remember correctly, that's when they went, hold on, we need to cut this movie totally different. They were cutting it dark and brooding the way Suicide Squad should be, really dark and crazy, into a Deadpool knockoff.
I follow the director on Twitter, and everyone just shits on him because everyone's happy that James Gunn's rebooting the whole thing and acting like that one kind of didn't happen. And he's kind of like being nice about it, and saying, yeah, enjoy, James Gunn's new movie and stuff. But I feel like he's a good director, but he lost that movie just to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers, they pretty much re-edited that movie themselves.
Well, just looking at the last like decade of Will Smith movies, which have been pretty rough more often than
the
not.
only good one was the 13 pounds or whatever.
But pretty rough in general, and I think it's because he got to a certain place in his career where he had enough pull because of his box office history to call a lot of shots, and he's not usually the right. I mean,
he's a character of himself.
The track record is showing that maybe like he needs to step out of the way and let a director do what they want to do,
and just listen to the motherfucker.
Right, right. It was like Another Earth that came out like several years ago. He cast his son in that, and I know that was part of him. Like,
did you watch that?
Yeah, and that movie is terrible.
Yeah.
But like,
he's become John Wayne. He's become a John Wayne. He's become a character.
I know a movie I did like that it wasn't too bad was Bright.
Bright was very
on
good.
Netflix.
Yeah, very good.
That one.
But but again, like a not a hugely successful film.
Yeah.
No.
And partly I think because, and I think it could have been better.
The dude that played
that guy's great, but
he was great in King. He's great. He plays a major role in King, and he's really fucking good in it.
Yeah. There's been a couple. I mean, so like. Another trend this year in movies that has been and is going to continue into the next year, aside from all the sequels and superhero movies, and if anything makes a dime, we got to make keep making versions of it, like Terminator, for example.
Yes.
But is Disney remaking their movies, right?
Yeah.
So like Lion King is one of the worst movies I saw this year.
Oh, really?
But because of the CGI, it looks realistic. It looks like a nature film, so that's stunning. It's very impressive. But trying to look at like a tiger, a realistic lion, okay, right,
with human qualities,
that's supposed to be expressive, like animation is. It can't happen.
It doesn't translate.
We can't in an animated movie, right? Like eyes get big when it's scared or when it's lonely or you have all these
reactions,
hugely expressive reactions in animation, right? It's a lot. It's why we get involved in something
animals.
That is a 2D hand drawing image, right? That's why we get so engaged, is because there are these exaggerated emotions and reactions and facial sort of qualities to it. And Lion King, because they make it look so photorealistic, that doesn't come through. So it's like watching a nature program with a lot of dialogue.
Yeah,
that's weird.
It's weird. It's a weird movie.
That sounds like it'd be awesome on mushrooms or something.
It might be though. Yeah, that's fair.
Like, whoa.
Maybe that should have been weird. They weren't handing them out at the critic screening.
Maybe they should have.
Maybe they should have.
They got a better review.
But yeah, that's the thing. That's like Mulan's coming next year.
What do you think of all that? Aladdin, all this shit.
Right.
It's just a money bag, right?
I mean, those are the ones I grew up with. Like when I was a kid, like Lion King, Aladdin, those were big movies.
Lion King was a great movie, man.
Right? And they're great.
I'm not gonna lie, I've never seen the Lion King.
I know you say that, but the two characters.
No, I should.
The
should see it.
supporting characters in Lion King are fucking hilarious.
I know about
right.
it and like the story,
Yeah.
and I've know the lines
Right.
and the songs.
I mean, there's a reason why it's like had like life way beyond when it came out, like 93 or something.
Yeah,
it's
one
on
of the biggest
Broadway.
movies ever.
It's
Broadway,
crazy.
too,
Yeah, it's one of the biggest Broadway musicals ever. I mean, that's a very good story, but yeah, the remaking of them, I don't know. I mean, I don't.
It's weird.
It's weird because these are classic animated films.
Yeah.
So everyone says Hollywood's running out of ideas. Well, do you think that way?
No, I mean,
You know what I'm talking about?
It's
yes,
money.
I absolutely do.
You can't
I
take
mean,
a chance on that.
I think
I think what's worse is that audiences aren't going out to see anything else.
Or
I blame more the audiences
Yeah.
than the studios, because
lazy.
there's good, really creative studio films coming out. We're gonna get Tenet, which looks like and we've had. I mean, I remember when Inception came out as like the movie of the summer.
Yeah.
Inception's like as original of a movie as you're gonna ever find,
Yeah.
right? And one that's like not catering towards audiences that just want to shove popcorn in their faces. But what I'm more like disheartened by is the fact that audiences rarely go see anything that isn't something they're familiar with.
True.
I'm one of those people. I hate
That's
to
the
say
part,
it,
Yeah.
but it's just gotten so easy to watch them in your house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
why
I don't mind if you're like watching, not going out to the theater.
Yeah.
As long as you're like willing to hit play on like Marriage Story over like
Yeah. The big ones.
Terminator 8, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is like
Terminator 8.
can we like
Yeah.
I think the thing is that more and more people just want to watch something that like I know all those characters, I want to watch those, like
It's just like
TV
music. You gotta
TV
seek
is
it.
like influenced like for
Big
years
time.
movies were influencing TV, and now we're at a part where I feel like TV is
Yes.
influencing
TV's the
movies.
best ever.
Is influencing
As a matter of fact,
movies,
can we talk about
though.
TV shows real quick?
Yeah, there's been some amazing ones
Okay, do you
this
watch
year.
Mr. Robot?
Yeah, but I haven't watched this year yet.
Oh, shit.
so
Okay, the
I
last
don't
season
know.
just
I
wrapped, so
know.
we'll wait on that
All
one.
right.
What's another good show?
Well, Watchmen this year has been
Watchmen
incredible.
Was that really surprised me with how well done it is.
Absolutely.
Like the photography, cinematography in this is amazing. The CGI is really good.
Right. None of it looks cheap. None of it looks
Yeah.
like television.
So you guys don't care that, because I haven't watched it yet, but it's fine that Alan Moore hates it, doesn't want anything to do with it.
He's always hated it. He's hated it ever since
He hated-
90.
yeah,
19.
Yeah, I know he
hated
hates
it.
everything.
He
yeah.
hated his own material, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He is no longer have. He's for years now has hated his own creation.
They got the best guy to do it. The guy that did Leftovers, because he's a
Lindelof,
Yeah.
Damon Lindelof. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
been part of comics for years. He did what was it? Infinite Crisis, one of the Crises. Identity Crisis, I think.
Okay.
He did but anyways, yeah, I thought Watchmen was great. Watchmen was amazing.
I highly suggest Mr. Robot, by the way.
Oh,
This is one
absolutely.
of the just the way it's shot.
Absolutely.
It's like a fucking movie. The music is fucking next level.
They've
the
always had
acting's
great-
next level.
great
I
music
cannot
cues.
believe how fucking good this
Yeah.
fucking show is.
Oh, it's so
and
good.
it's probably the greatest show in regards to mental illness of all time. That's all I'll say about that.
It's very good.
What
It's
about
very
Barry?
good. Barry is fantastic. That
I fucking
episode.
love Barry so goddamn much, bro.
You know the episode that I'm probably talking about, the extended fight episode,
Oh yeah,
is like perfection. I mean that series in general is great, but like one of the best episodes of the year, period, of anything.
because it didn't
Is
fit.
that
It didn't
episode.
fit in the
No, but it's
into
just
the
so
timeline. Yeah, and
weird
every
and funny.
Every season usually has an episode like that because they're
Right.
called like fillers or something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, that was great. I love
Yeah,
that
the
shit.
standalones. They're
And-
standalone. It's like a standalone
the
episode.
actress on there to me I think she's one of the best actresses I've seen in a long time, because it's another one of those actors acting within acting things.
Right.
When she's in that class giving a
Yeah.
monologue and then like finishing it, and then her character has to like have an emotion towards like because she wasn't doing well I know it's hard to explain.
A lot
but
of, yeah,
it's
a lot
just
of
like this
layers
is
there.
fucking next level.
You know that the guy who plays Hank, right, that character was supposed to get cut off like the second episode, and they liked the performance so much that they quickly like rewrote things.
That's cool.
And now he was a huge part of season 2, and going forward, obviously going to be a part of it. But like that's all because that actor just
Killed it.
Yeah,
That's
just
I
That's the
love when
same
they
thing
do
what
stuff
happened
Took it
on
to some other level.
Breaking Bad with Jesse.
Right.
Same thing. They were gonna kill his character.
Yeah,
off,
it
and they
wasn't
just
supposed
loved
to
him
be
so
like
much, yeah.
the Jesse and Walt show, and then it was like, well, we can't. Aaron Paul's doing too good of a job. Yeah, it's always great when you see an actor like sort of saving their career.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of the DC Universe shows?
No, I haven't watched any of them.
Oh, man.
There's been some good stuff. Like what
Titans is so
Titans,
good.
I've heard a lot of good things
There,
about.
there are a couple weird things about Titans that they do that's kind of weird. Like, it doesn't seem necessary. Like, they kind of tell stories that aren't necessary to get them where they're going. But I will say this: the positives way outweigh the negatives.
Right.
It's probably the best, one of the best top 2 or 3 TV show comic things I've ever seen.
Oh.
It is really fucking good, man. The only problem is that they have no direction. Like, the direction doesn't make sense with where they're going, you know.
Oh.
But it's really cool to see. They do it really dark and edgy, and it's definitely R-rated.
What show is this again?
Titans.
Oh.
Oh
yeah, you told me
the
to watch
characters that they have playing them, I didn't think were gonna work well, but the dude that they got playing Dick Grayson is fucking perfect for Dick Grayson.
That's awesome.
And I'm a big Nightwing fan, so I was really worried they were gonna fuck it up, but it is really fucking good. Like next level, really good.
I was worried about that. The trailer looks cheesy.
It did. It looked really cheesy, and I was really worried. I gotta be honest.
Like it was gonna be like Arrow.
Yeah, when they showed Starfire, the character that's gonna play Starfire was African American. It really pissed me off, and the reason why is because I really think that in comics they're doing this thing where they're having to put minorities in roles that just doesn't work, but they're doing it just for reasons that aren't necessary. Does that make sense? Like, they could make create a new character that could be African American or Muslim or white if it's a normal, whatever you are. They can create a better character rather than like make a black Superman. You know what I mean? Like, it feels forced. And the person that they had they forget that a lot of these comic characters have a history with a big, huge fan base, and I didn't see Starfire as African American. But here's the thing, I was fucking wrong. The actress that they have playing her was awesome in the first season. She played it really well, and I'm glad that they did that. That's one of the few times where I went, that was a I'm glad you guys did that, and I was totally wrong.
So if they came out with a black Superman, that would piss a lot of people off?
It pissed because it's not necessary. It's
well,
not necessary.
I mean, I think part of it is like part of that fan base is African American or of other
that like Superman as white. Yeah.
Well, no, that like the character of Superman, but would like to see maybe themselves, in those iconic roles.
Yes.
Which I think they did really well with like Miles Morales, right?
Yes, they create. That's what I mean. Create a character.
Like that's the new Spider-Man.
Yeah. They did a
but
great
it's
job
like great
with
new
Miles.
Spider-Man,
Yes.
right? Like,
because they created him. They aren't just saying, "Oh, this is how he's always been." You're creating a new character. Clark Kent
taking on. So like Clark Kent would be the problem, but if it was a new character,
if it was
taking like Jeff Smith, and Jeff Smith's the new Superman,
I'd be cool with it.
Jeff Smith's, like
I don't want Clark Kent to be black because he's not. He's white.
I get
and he's been. And I wouldn't want. Here's another thing. Like, I don't like when they do the vice versa. You know what I mean? I would, if they tried to do a Jon Stewart Green Lantern as white, I would fucking be pissed. I'd be like, no, Jon Stewart's black. You know what I mean? There's a
That's where it's been.
That's where it's been. There's a reason why he has this history.
I think that means more to the people who read the comics than anything, because
it does.
That history that you've
That's
read
what I'm
for so
talking
long,
about.
growing up with it.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, we've created a history of this. There's characters out there that you can create that would mean more to that minority group than if you made that character a minority.
Right. So and they could still take on the
the iconic roles,
that comic role, like a Superman or something. Just not.
Yeah, it would feel weird.
Just rewrite like they did with Miles. I mean, that Miles Morales is like the perfect example of like, we have a new Spider-Man, but it wasn't gonna be Peter Parker, who's now Peter Parker's about as white of a name as you can.
Exactly. I don't want it to be forced. I don't want it to be forced. I want it to have meaning behind it.
But I like that.
Perfect example is Neil Adams. So I got to interview Neil Adams at a Phoenix Comic Con, this last Phoenix Comic Con, and that's one of the things he said. He goes, "The reason I created Jon Stewart was because I was looking at during the 70s, in New York at the time, there was the they needed an African American hero that didn't grow up in the ghetto, that didn't, you know what I mean? They needed a guy that was different than something they were seeing, which didn't make sense to me when he said it. But then he was like, I wanted to give them something to aspire to. And then that was kind of weird to me. But what he's saying is, I wanted, this character has more meaning than just, somebody that grew up in the ghetto. Like he's gotten out of it before he was a superhero. So that's what I mean by giving it meaning, don't make it forced. You guys could come up with Kamala Khan's a perfect example. Kamala Khan is a new character in the Marvel universe that took over the Miss Marvel role, but she's Muslim, right? And it doesn't feel forced. It feels
right.
It feels like it works.
Plus, you think like from the creative standpoint, writing that, right, you get the opportunity then to bring in more like culture, history,
yeah,
exactly,
like all those things into this new character,
yes,
as opposed to
to
just taking over. Just changing the race of an existing character who comes from the suburbs.
That's what Neil Adams said.
Probably very
Neil Adams said, I wanted to give him a backstory. You look at all the African American superheroes, and it was just like, oh, they were growing up in the ghetto and they got hit by lightning, and now they have superpowers. No, I wanted to give him a backstory. I wanted to give him something better than just a poof, you're a hero. And that's what they would do by making Superman black. There would be no backstory. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why Red Son's badass, because he was landing in Russia. And I love that storyline.
Did you see they're making a Red Son cartoon, and it looks really.
Do you know about that?
Oh no, I didn't know
Red
about
Son's
that.
one of my favorite.
He got me onto it.
Yeah.
It's just another take on Superman, as if he landed in Russia and grew up instead of America, and it's bad as fuck.
Yeah.
And if they did something like that, I'd be cool with it. I mean, if they did like an Elseworlds tale, do it. Don't try to force it on us, though. It would just feel forced.
Yeah.
I don't
and like Lex Luthor's the president.
Yeah.
It's during the Cold War. It's bad as fuck, dude.
It's awesome.
He takes on everybody.
Yep. Batman's got to stop him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
They're making it. It's going to be in the new DC animated series. That's another thing. I mean, what was? I don't think it was this year, but Edge of the Spider-Verse. You saw that, right?
Oh yeah, Into the Spider-Verse.
That was great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And they're coming out with the second one here soon.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
That was amazing. I mean, was there any other animated things that you saw throughout the year that was good?
This year, I mean, it's a lot of sequels this year. There weren't a lot of original stuff. There is a really interesting film called I Lost My Body on Netflix. It's about a guy who loses his hand, and it kind of follows the hand as the severed hand is trying to reconnect with its body.
That's badass.
It's good. It's good. It's a really interesting film. I really like Toy Story 4, film I didn't think I was gonna need or like, and thoroughly enjoyed it, and thought they did a nice job of justifying it more than, again, the cash grab, which is kind of what it felt like when it got announced. Was like, I thought the third one ended everything. They find a real nice way of.
They have such good writers there.
Yeah, of making it really meaningful both to the series and just as a good movie. So those have definitely been a couple of them. But it's not, this year has not been like a killer year. It doesn't feel like for animation, for whatever reason.
Yeah, there wasn't much there.
It's a lot of sequels and not a lot of. We didn't get an original Pixar film.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Toy Story 4, we didn't get like
an original.
Yeah, we get Soul, I think, next year, which.
So what are you excited for next year coming out?
Yeah, next year, right? What's coming out next year? There's
I just know Tenet.
Tenet's definitely going to be an exciting a new film. I'm pretty stoked for that. I'm very interested in that Guy Ritchie film just because it does feel like, hey, it's going back to some roots and things like that. That I think is going to be really good. I don't know. I would have to look at I don't think next year's not the year for the new Doctor Strange film, is it?
No.
I'm very interested in that just because they're going to make it into a horror film, and I'm like, and the guy who directed the first Doctor Strange film had done the Sinister, which is a horror film I really dug and thought was good, and so
Doctor Strange's a perfect.
Hopefully, bringing that in, that could be really cool. I'm actually really excited in general about that. If we're going to continue on the superhero thing, and it's a lot, right? And I have to see them all. I'm glad that they're like gonna start playing around with like different genres and styles and tones.
What'd you think about Black Widow trailer?
And I haven't seen it yet.
Really?
No.
I thought this was going to be cheesy as hell, and it turned out the trailer looks pretty good. There's a part in there where she goes and meets her sister, who's the other Black Widow character, where they're fighting, and they do this really cool choreography where they're pointing the guns at each other and they flip. Anyway, the choreography looks really good. And then there's a character like a comedic, the comedic character in it that looks really funny. That's played by David Arbor.
Oh
the guy from
Stranger Things, yeah.
And it looks pretty interesting.
Nice.
So
we get a new Bond film. I've liked the Daniel Craig Bond films quite a bit, and
so yeah, I agree.
I like that
Best Bond.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge is wrote this, and she's the force behind Fleabag and Killing Eve, and those are both killer TV shows from this year.
So is Rami Malek's in it?
Yeah, Rami Malek's in it.
Yeah, he looks badass in it.
Yeah,
too.
that I think is like got some real potential to be another strong entry in that series, and one that I'm glad. Dune comes out next year.
Oh,
holy shit! I totally forgot about that.
Super excited.
Hans Zimmer's doing that score over Tenet.
Denis Villeneuve, right, who did Blade Runner and Arrival and Sicario. The guy's
Sicario was amazing.
The guy's an amazing director, and he's doing Dune.
Is the one guy doing the cinematography on it?
Roger Deakins? I don't know. I think so. Now he had a movie this year, 1917, right, which is one continuous shot, which is the best. I mean, that like the most impressive thing about the movie is the cinematography.
Didn't they do that in Rope too? Like an old
the Hitchcock film. Yeah.
So is it worth watching?
It is,
because I watched all the behind the scenes on it the other day, and I was blown away.
Yeah, I will say, like, the storyline itself is a pretty routine war storyline. There's nothing dynamic about plot or character here. And in fact, you don't really get to know the characters that well, because it's like you're spending such a limited amount of time, because it's supposed to be like a continuously following, like one unbroken shot. So obviously it's in fairly close to real time. I mean, they play around with that time a little bit.
I just like that it's World War One rather than two.
But
but
visually, like, I mean, it's like scene after scene of like, how the fuck did they pull that off?
Go on YouTube and watch the behind the scenes.
Oh, I know.
Bro, it'll blow your mind.
It's great. I've watched it twice because it's incredible, and he will likely get another. This will be maybe like his second in a row, I think.
Sam Mendes?
Roger Deakins. Roger Deakins for cinematography for an Oscar, and it's so deserved. Like, he is it's an incredible achievement. But I think it is the defining thing about the film. I don't think like
the story's worth.
Yeah, I don't think you'll remember it for any of that.
I want to see if he's doing Dune. Yeah, because Hans Zimmer was, how Christopher Nolan always has Hans Zimmer do his scores. He chose Dune over Tenet.
Right.
So this is the first Nolan movie without I think it's the first Nolan movie without a Hans Zimmer score.
That's correct.
I could be wrong.
We get a new Bill and Ted movie.
Oh, I saw a little behind the scenes on that.
Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It looks funny. Like, it looks like it has chemistry. Plus, I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan.
So am I. Yeah.
And talk about like action movie of the year, John Wick 3.
Yes, that was great.
An incredible film.
Yeah.
The first 40 minutes are like unbroken, just fight sequence that blew my mind.
I still need to see it.
That movie is great, and
I did see that.
I'm always excited for like any more Keanu Reeves.
Well, he has Matrix 4 and
right.
The other one came out the same
Bill
day.
And Ted and John Wick, yeah, right.
John Wick, yeah, I think
that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's just a Facebook thing.
That won't actually happen. Makes no sense for the studio to split its revenue. Like, one will bow out and say we need to pick a different weekend because
too big of movies going on the same weekend. Would be stupid.
I mean, I think the one that is the surefire is
Matrix.
No, I would say John Wick has the bigger audience right now. Matrix.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, come on, man. After
Matrix
that first those Matrix sequels too.
I agree. Sucked.
They didn't do a lot to build the fan base. If anything, it hurt it immensely.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how excited people actually are about. I think they're curious, but like people are generally excited for.
Plus, their last movies of the Wachowskis haven't been that great.
No.
Like Cloud.
And I was really looking forward to that movie too.
Cloud Atlas.
Yeah. Well, I actually didn't mind that one. What was the one after that? With,
Jupiter.
Jupiter Ascending. Like that one was.
That's what I mean. Jupiter Ascending.
Boy, that movie's a disaster. It really is. We
That guy's
Is that
the
the one
villain
with
is
Cara
so bad.
Evangeline or whatever?
No.
Mila Kunis is in the.
Oh,
in-
yeah,
in
yeah.
the
Channing
And
Tatum.
Channing. That could have been good. It could have been good.
It could have been.
The
good.
villain was so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible.
And I
Eddie-
like
Eddie
that actor
Redmayne.
too.
Yeah.
I like
So
that
cheesy.
actor. And I like that actor, but now I can never see that actor because of how he played that villain. That's how I hear him. Every time I hear him in any other movie, I hear that villain.
That's funny. We get this you might not know about, but Edgar Wright will have a new movie
Oh,
coming
wow.
out called Last Night in Soho, which is a horror film of sorts. So
Very cool.
Coming off Baby Driver and
Yeah.
Edgar Wright's another guy I go to the theater for sure.
oh, absolutely right. Like after I mean, Shaun of the Dead and all that, the Cornetto trilogy, but
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim.
That's one of my top
one that
fucking
is
10,
like,
dude.
Yeah, it's
Well,
great.
it's
fantastic.
funny.
I love that
you talk
fucking
about you
movie.
talk about directors you go to see movies for. Ryan Johnson used to be that. Like if before
No.
Star Wars, wouldn't you go see a Ryan Johnson
No.
film just because?
Because-
Knives Out's
no.
really good.
I would go see Knives Out, but not in the theater. But he hasn't put enough material out for me to
I
want
got
to.
you. I
got
got
me
you.
into Brick. That was already on DVD or whatever.
Yeah.
Then Looper came out. I might have seen it in the theater,
Okay.
but then after that was Star Wars.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So I didn't really.
he didn't put out.
So I
enough.
did.
You're
I
right.
saw Last Jedi.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that's true. Like not enough of a track record.
Yeah, but I mean, Christopher Nolan is the only director that, besides Dunkirk, every film I find myself for not only thinking about the film for 2 weeks, but going on the internet looking up other people's theories and thoughts. When Inception came out, for like 6 months afterwards, I was dissecting the timelines and just reading all kinds of different theories. And there's no other movie that does that for me. And I have a feeling in Tenet's that movie that I've been waiting for since I think Inception. I loved Interstellar, I loved Dunkirk, but I think Tenet's gonna have that.
Interstellar is the one for me that I put pretty low. I didn't like Interstellar.
Is what's his name?
My favorite is The Prestige. That's one of my top fucking
Yeah,
movies all
alright,
time.
yeah,
dude.
I'll
Like,
give you that. That's a
'cause
great
that's one of the
movie.
few movies where you watch it again
great
and you
movie.
see shit that you realize the
Absolutely.
first time. You're like,
What's-
holy shit.
What's the guy from Peaky Blinders' name?
Cillian Murphy?
Yeah, Cillian Murphy. Is
Or
he
Cillian
gonna,
Murphy?
Is he gonna be? Because he's in almost all of.
He's probably.
I hope he's gonna be.
Oh,
the
in
new one.
Tenet.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's not in the trailer, but
Yeah.
Do you
I
watch
hope he's in.
Peaky Blinders?
yeah,
That show's
He's
bad
my
as
favorite
fuck.
actor.
I just-
Cillian
yeah.
Murphy is my favorite actor by far,
yeah,
man.
he's great.
He's
He's great.
badass. And I'm bummed out that they killed off. Oh, I'm bummed that Tom Hardy isn't in the. There's no way for him to
Thank
be
you.
in the.
Wait, did you finish the season?
Spoilers out on that
No,
one.
not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Anyway, but before we wrap here, I wanted to talk about the AZ Filmmaker Showcase, man.
Yes.
This last year, it seems like it's been on fire. It seems like it's been selling out. It's been doing really
It's been
well.
fantastic. It's been going super well. We're going to be in our 8th year next year, which is
Wow.
crazy. That's a lot of films to have shown over the years, a lot of filmmakers to have supported. I don't have to beg and plead anymore for films. We're really trying to focus on trying to reach out to audiences that I haven't always reached out to actively anyways, never excluded by any means, but just not targeting that in terms of getting some more diversity in the types of films we've shown. We've shown all kinds. We've shown plenty of films that are in Spanish and then subtitled in English and things like that. But like there's a growing film community in this state of ours that is already very diverse.
Yeah.
That I don't feel like we've gotten a lot out of them. And so I'm trying to find ways and avenues into those particular groups to get those voices in, because I get a lot of like college white guys. Not that there's any problem with that, but it is like the majority of what we get is that, and
I get what
like
you're saying.
it's just nice if we had just pure thing that we start to see like over the years, right? Like a lot of the same types of movies.
We need to get the word out of the submissions to more people, I think, too. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? To get
Yeah.
them in. I don't know what your submission count's like, but I'll take a more active stance in that too.
Yeah,
but-
I always post on all the groups I can, and I reach out to groups that are kind of private and say like, hey, would you mind posting this and getting the word out? I mean, it's pretty easy because it's free. We don't charge anyone for the submission. That's usually really attractive to filmmakers, and it is like a good theater that they
Yeah.
get to show it in. So usually it's not hard to get people to try to promote this and share with those filmmaker groups. But yeah, that's right now. That's like the easiest way to is really still Facebook and social media. But as that like shifts, You know, like Facebook's kind of less and less
Yeah.
popular. I don't know really like what are the other options of trying to get out. I mean, like, you know,
Yeah, you're right.
you know, like I know that's a big way you share this podcast, right? Still is like Facebook.
Well, we go
but you
around
also
and
have
hand out
YouTube.
stickers and flyers and shit.
See,
but,
that helps. Yeah,
You know, there's like a lot of trendy coffee shops down here, and as a matter of fact,
Right.
there's another. There's like a wine bar on 3rd Ave and Roosevelt. They're showing films there.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Maybe even just put flyers. You know, they have a little flyer stand in there and
Yeah.
stuff, or I don't know.
I think
flyers is not a bad idea, just because people do run across them. Though.
one of the most important things is to get within those other communities, like to mingle, I guess is the best way to say it. And I think we all need to be better about going to finding those other communities to mingle in, you know, getting out and going to different events, and, you know, you create a bond, like you're all part of a family type thing, you know what I mean?
Community is really big, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we're trying to do here that we would love to do more of if we could figure out a way to do it or be better about it, is to bring those communities together.
Well, we do shout outs at the end of the show. We'll start shouting out the film
cool.
showcase more.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if it'll help, but we'll
absolutely. Any
But for people
filmmakers
don't
out there,
know what it is, can you just explain it really quick?
Absolutely. So,
And how to submit and all that.
Right. So every month we showcase usually 5 to 6 short films, but we've done some features. Only really qualification is that either the primary cast and crew are kind of based out here in Arizona, somewhere in Arizona, or they was like shot here. So those are kind of the big things. So we occasionally do get, you know, LA people who are based out of LA, but they shot the whole thing here with with you know, Arizona crew and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, absolutely, we're going to show that works. So we show a bunch of short films at Filmbar, which is in downtown Phoenix, a great little place that has beer and wine, and so that's helpful for that liquid courage for filmmakers. There's no fee to submit. You can submit anytime on Filmbar's website. You'll see the Arizona Filmmaker Showcase logo on the website, and click on that and fill out the form. And there's no other really like qualifications. We just I try to give everyone a voice and a chance to show their films, so long as like there's nothing with the intent of the film that I feel like is hurtful towards someone. You know, like I'm not going to show. I don't know. There's been a couple
hateful.
There's been like 2 or 3 over the years.
I was wondering, have you ever had to turn down a submission?
Absolutely, yeah. I was like, absolutely not. And I wrote like lengthy emails as to exactly why, so there's no question as to why they were being rejected. It was like, no, this is a
not something we're
insensitive, hateful, like film that seems to want to like either spew a message of that, or
that's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
It's wild, right? It is
I'm
wild.
not surprised either,
no, you know, I mean, you shouldn't be surprised.
But that's one of their goals. Is they're like, we got to get into a place where we can, you know, that they won't see this message, so we can, you know, make that toxic, right? Anything they can, you know, toxicify or whatever it is.
Is there a time requirement on the films? I know there's mostly short films.
No.
And the reason why I asked is because like if it was like a pilot that was like 20-30 minutes, is that too long?
No, we've certainly shown that. We'll just pair it usually with some shorter films, and we'll probably play it, you know, at the end of the night, just because people are kind of locked in. If you play like a 30-minute film and as the start, people are like, are they all going to be 30 minutes?
Yeah.
There's like a little psychology at play and how I'll program stuff, but we don't program around like a particular theme or anything either. So
usually it's about an hour long, and they're about 3 to 5 minutes, or like 10 to 12 minutes.
Probably. Yeah, the average is probably around 10 minutes. This is really like the general, and that's a good length for festivals in general. As you're shopping around, like a festival has like maybe an hour worth of time to book. So that's, you know, if your film's under 10 minutes, you've probably can squeeze in easier than one that's 15 minutes. Nice.
Any films that you saw throughout the year that really stand out to you, that just blew you away from the local community?
Oh, from the local community, man, there's a lot of them that we've shown over the years. I'm always impressed with Ryan Henry Johnson and what his crew's doing. He had a couple. He had 4, I think, this year, and they were all very strong. And so it's amazing. We had a documentary recently from Lorenzo Cuevas, who about a neighborhood not too far from here in sort of South Phoenix that is getting there's sort of like there's been funding that's gone through to sort of beautify the neighborhood, had plants and other things to yards that try to help build up the community there and the look and feel. And so I like anything that sort of points back to Arizona. That's very cool. But it's been a wild year. I mean, we had a John Cougar Mellencamp documentary from a guy that lives here but goes out like on tour with him.
That's freaking crazy.
And was all about kind of Mellencamp's story of being like, 19 when he kind of like hit it big and how it kind of, was like very ill prepared for fame at that age. Yeah, it was like.
Plus, he's got a middle name of Cougar.
So I used to jam Small Town when I was a kid.
I remember there was a time period where he didn't want to go by John Cougar Mellencamp.
Just John Mellencamp?
He just went by John
Mellencamp. Yeah, somewhere in the 90s.
And then he brought the Cougar back?
Yeah.
Once all the old chicks.
He's like, oh, I can
That's a good word.
Oh, yeah.
It's back in the vernacular.
Yeah. It has meaning now. That's cool.
I've been to a couple of the film bar things this year, and
well, the one you went to, he wasn't there. Remember?
I know, but there was a couple short ones that I remember seeing, but one that really stuck with me was this one I think it was called Paletta. And it was about one of those guys that walks the little ice cream cart.
Aiden shot that.
That movie is fantastic.
Yeah,
that was so good, man. I was laughing my ass off.
The guy that shot that, he's actually an Emmy-nominated cinematographer now from Phoenix.
He's
Aiden's
done a ton of stuff. Great guy. But yeah, that short, about when an ice cream salesman who runs across this very particular kid, this very annoying kid, is hilarious and super memorable. It was
so funny, and that's exactly what it is. It just sticks in your brain. Right. It's very memorable. Yeah, and it's funny because I was talking to I forget where it was. I think it had to do with one of the comic book podcasts I do, but I was talking to somebody off air about something. He's like, that my whole family sells palettas or whatever, and that's like a thing in the community where that's
probably really funny to them.
So it's probably really fun.
Yeah,
it's probably big in their community.
Yeah.
But it was really good.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I was just blown away by that, and it was a short 10-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute clip. That was really good. That I remember walking out of that night, that particular night, going, "Man, that was really good." It sticks with you, and how compared to everything else was very good there. But that just really stuck with me as a really excellent 10-minute clip.
There's some just incredibly talented people here in Phoenix, and it's a huge pleasure to get to do something that like allows them to have
you're bringing people
audience
together, man. I really respect what you're doing, man, for the community. Really I told you that last time.
Yeah,
I think you're a bad motherfucker. You're welcome to come on the show anytime. I would love to do this maybe at least twice a year, maybe the end of the year, so we can always talk about the movies. And maybe
it's always great.
Or not Emmy, Oscar time.
Oh, Oscar time.
Yeah, we should do it next Oscar time too.
Do you have anything you want to promote or where people can find you or?
Like you said before, they can read my reviews at darkofthematinee.com. The Phoenix Critic Circle just put out all of our awards for the end of the year. So if you're curious what we thought collectively what the best actor and actress and performance and screenplay and all of that of the year, you can go check that out at just search Phoenix Critic Circle. The showcase, the Arizona Filmmaker Showcase, will be back at the end of January, which is fantastic. I'm super excited to start a new year with that, and we'll no doubt have some gems throughout the year that blow people's minds. Those are the main things that I think I'd like to promote.
Sweet. Yeah, man. Well, thanks for coming on, McClay. Do you want to do some shout outs real quick?
Shout out to This, That, and the Other. Shout out to ADHD podcast, Mike Martin out at Strongheart Academy. Shout out to Quick Scope Apparel. Shout out to, Bang Salon, of course. Shout out to Jonah Matranga. For those of you guys who aren't checking out Jonah Matranga's site, go check it out. Also, shout out to comicbookinvest.com. For those of you guys who like comic books and maybe making some money off comic books, go check out comicbookinvest.com. And check out Bird City Comics, live auctions on Facebook for comic books. Check out yeah, all those things. Check out Tales from the Flip Side. You can find me on YouTube for Tales from the Flip Side.
Great. Yeah. And shout out to the AZ Filmmaker Showcase. Submit all your films at the Filmbar.
Yeah. Hold on, one more. Check out Hempful Farms, Chris Martin and crew, Convict Creations. Definitely one of the most inspiring people I've met all year, and for being an end of the year episode, I definitely want to thank Chris Martin and crew for doing what you guys do. You guys are badass.
Awesome, and that's a wrap on episode 62 of the Bogcast.
Bang!